Welcome, O Ramadan.
Radio Sultanate of Oman 90.4 and the Sultan Qaboos Center for Islamic Culture presents Reaching Out Through Dialogue. Listen and get involved. It is a great experience for you personally. It would really create a balance on each and every one of us in this holy month of Ramadan.
Stand up.
Reaching Out Through Dialogue, presented by Hatim Harif Al Abdussalam,
Charity.
directed by Matloob Ayel Al Wahabi. Reaching Out Through Dialogue, a special in this holy month of Ramadan, here on 90.4 FM.
For the pleasure of
Reaching Out Through Dialogue. Dear listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Another few days and Ramadan will leave us. It was our pleasure to have you all listening to our show through the holy month of Ramadan. Today's topic is science in the Quran. Please join me in welcoming my distinguished guest, Sheikh Hafidh Al-Kindi. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Hafidh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah. Many thanks for this opportunity.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sheikh Hafidh is an active member at the Sultan Qaboos Center of the Islamic Culture. Now, Sheikh Hafidh, let's get to today's topic, science in the Quran.
Inshallah. Yeah.
One would expect that the Holy Quran is a book of admonition and God's directives to mankind. Yet, we are talking here about scientific issues. What is the rationale on this?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Indeed, it's quite a fair question because it puts this whole subject into context. As you have said, Quran is not a book of science. It is, as it declares itself in many places, a book of guidance, a remembrance, a warner, and a giver of glad tidings for those who receive it and live on it. However, Quran is also a book of signs, ayah or ayat, which means a demonstration of Allah's omnipotence, infinite power, and capabilities. For example, in chapter 16, verse 10 to 12, we read in the Holy Quran, "It is He who sends down rain from the sky. From it you drink, and out of it grows the vegetation on which you feed your cattle. With it he produces for you corn, olives, date palms, grapes, and every kind of fruit. Verily in this is a sign for those who give thought. He has made subject to you the night and the day, the sun and the moon, and the stars are in subjection by his command. Verily in this are signs for men who are wise." You see, all phenomena in the creation are God's signs. And Allah is pointing us to us these signs to reflect and understand who is Allah. What is He? Allah Most High. You see, people who worship gods other than the only one true God do not really understand who is God. What are His attributes?
Okay.
Now, in the revelations, God is helping us to appreciate who is He. The scientific facts mentioned in the Holy Quran are a sign from Him. So
if we are wondering
Yeah.
and want to identify the wonders of Almighty Allah, so we should go through these signs and contemplate. Then we can find our direction towards
exactly,
Allah.
they help us understand His omnipotence, His powers, His attributes through signs which He has shown in the Holy Quran. And some of these signs are scientific signs. Yeah, but that is one point.
Okay.
The other point is that every messenger comes with a sign to prove his prophethood. Moses,
Which
peace be upon
are
him,
miracles?
which are miracles. Yeah, they are signs to prove his messengership.
Okay.
Let's take an example. Moses, peace be upon him, came with many signs. Among them is his magic rod, which he defeated the top magicians of Egypt. As we know, he split the sea by his rod. Yeah, for the Banu
Israel, the children of Israel.
Exactly, to cross the Red Sea. And other miracles which he had performed using the rod, his stick. That was a sign. Yeah. Jesus, peace be upon him, also came with signs to prove his
prophethood.
His prophethood. Yeah. He cured the lepers. He cured the blind. He even raised the dead by God's permission. And all the prophets came with signs to support their mission. One important thing to notice here the miracles usually address the expertise of the time. You know, at the time of Prophet Moses, magic was the expertise of the Egyptians. And even in the palaces of the Pharaoh, he had, palace magicians. So magic was their expertise. So Moses came with miracles which resembled their magic. Of course, what Moses brought was not magic. It was miracles. It was signs.
So what you're trying to say, Sheikh Hafidh, is every prophet or messenger comes with a miracle that fits the time that he is in.
Yeah, it fits the knowledge of the time. You know, they pride it in magic. So the miracles which came, they thought it's magic. It's not magic, but it resembled that. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you take times of Jesus, peace be upon him, medicine was expertise of the time in the area he was living, in Palestine. They were expert medical people. So Jesus came with a miracle which he could cure lepers. He could, make the blind to see. He could even raise the dead by God's permission. So, when we came to the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the literary excellence of the language, the Arabic language, was the order of the day. The Arabs were very particular and proud of their language. The Holy Quran was revealed with a literary excellence which exceeded the language of the time. So this is one miracle. This is one sign. But furthermore, the time of the Prophet was the dawn of the modern science, as we know it. Quran is a book of eternity, and Allah has embedded in it knowledge which goes beyond time. It transcends time. Amongst this knowledge is the scientific information given in the Holy Quran as a sign of God. Now, with all our academic advancement, none of the information given in the Holy Quran has been disproved to date. Thus, the Holy Quran is a miracle, and the only miracle claimed by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. You see, all the prophets of God, when they came, people wanted signs to prove their messengership.
Okay.
And Prophet Muhammad, when they asked him, we want a sign from you, we want a miracle, Allah commanded him to point to the Quran.
So they demanded for a sign.
They demanded a sign. They demanded miracles. And, they were told to look at the Quran if you want to see a miracle. That's why we read in chapter 41, verse 53 of the Holy Quran, we will show them our signs in the furthest regions and in their own souls until it becomes manifest to them that this is the truth. That is, the revelation is a truth. And with it will be signs.
Okay.
Yeah? The Holy Quran is a book of guidance, that's right. But it's also a book of knowledge. It is this book that and the teachings and the examples of the Prophet that planted the seed of academic research and development, which was embarked by the Muslims from the 7th century onwards. Yeah? As we all know, it is the Muslims who laid the foundations of modern astronomy, modern physics, modern medicine, and so on. Muslim scholars in the annals of academic history are many. Just to quote a few examples.
But
Ibn Sina.
Before you go further, Sheikh Hafidh.
Yes, yeah.
So just to make it clear to our audience, the Quran, is it a book of science or it's a book of science?
It's a book of science.
Oh, both.
The signs or ayah also apply for scientific signs which are shown in the Quran.
Okay.
So the ayah has a meaning also of the facts which are shown in the Quran. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a book of guidance. It's a book of science, and part of these signs are the scientific facts which are mentioned.
Okay.
So, as I said, the Holy Quran and the tradition of the Prophet, they laid the foundation for the academic development which was embarked by the Muslims from the 7th century onwards. Examples are, for example, Ibn Sina, who was a great writer on medicine. Al-Khawarizmi was a great astronomer. Yeah, Ibn al-Haytham was a great mathematician. He came up with the theory of light. He was also the one who came up first with how to solve a quadratic equation. The first Caesarean operation was performed by a Muslim surgeon. And there are many examples, really, of Muslim scholars and their achievements. So, the Quran is right, is a book of guidance, but it's also a book of science.
Okay.
And some of these signs are the scientific facts which are in the Holy Quran.
So, Sheikh Hafidh, let us begin with the creation from the very, very beginning. Okay, what are the signs or scientific facts mentioned in the Holy Quran with regards to the beginning of the universe? You may want to quote verse 41:53.
Indeed, yes. As we have said in this verse, we will show them our signs in the furthest regions. And, creation falls into that context. Indeed, it's a good question. It's always good to begin at the beginning.
Because many people have doubts and have different theories about the beginning
of the creation.
It's good to clarify this from the beginning.
You see, Allah Most High tells us in the Holy Quran that the universe started from nothingness. In chapter 35 verse 1, Fatir, it tells us, "Praise be to Allah who created out of nothing the heavens and the earth." The word Fatir, which is a word used in this verse, means creation of the first matter.
Okay.
So in the beginning there was no matter. There was nothing.
There was nothing.
Nothing. And he created matter.
So he created something out of nothing.
Out of nothing. And this really shows the infinite powers of Allah. When we talked about who is Allah.
Okay.
His omnipotence. In chapter 2 verse 117, Allah continues, he says, "To him is due the primal origin of the heavens and the earth. When he decrees a matter, he says to it be, and it is." So the beginning of the creation is the creation of matter from nothing.
Okay.
This is profound in the omnipotence of Allah. Out of nothing, matter, which later formed the universe, came into being by his command be. Be, and it is. The Holy Quran further tells us that this matter came to be in gaseous form, Dukhan. This matter came into gaseous form and condensed into one unit of creation and then exploded to form the universe. We are told this in chapter 21 verse 30. "Do not the unbelievers see that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one unit of creation before we clove them asunder?" The gaseous units exploded to form the galaxies, the stars and the planets. And with this power of explosion, the universe is expanding ever since. We are informed this in chapter 51 verse 47. "The heaven, we have built it with power. Surely we are expanding it." So this was the beginning of the universe. Creation of the original matter and the explosion of the gaseous matter to form the stars and the planets. So this was the start.
So Almighty Allah gives us the signs of the beginning of the creation, and we have to go back and do some research and find out more about this.
Exactly.
So he gives you the track, and you should continue with the research.
Indeed, and this is in modern science what we're told is a Big Bang theory. So Allah has told us about this explosion 1400 years ago. This is phenomenal, that the creation of the first matter and the beginning of the universe has been told to us 1400 years ago. And science is confirming that this is how it all began. The Holy Quran is telling us further that the creation has not stopped. It's continuing. So after this first creation, the creation is still continuing. We are told that in chapter 35 verse 1, He adds to creation as he pleases. For Allah has power over all things. The creation is continuing. And, the space discoveries now are showing. We are seeing new galaxies.
New stars being born.
New stars are being born. The creation is continuing. This information has been given to us.
All these signs that we see now, that we discover through technology, it is a reflection of what is mentioned in the Holy Quran.
Yes, exactly.
Now, Sheikh Hafid, this whole creation is surely not without order, because everything has to be in order. The precise movement of the stars and the planets in the heavens, the regular alteration of the day and night, all these point to a great governance of this universe. What does the Holy Quran tell us on this aspect of the creation?
Well, the universe is a very complex system, as you say, and it is very highly ordered. Allah tells us in chapter 7, verse 54, Your guardian Lord is Allah, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Then He established Himself on the throne of authority. He draws the night as a veil over the day, each seeking the other in rapid succession. He created the sun, the moon, the stars, all governed by laws under his command. Is it not he to create and to govern? Blessed be Allah, the cherisher and the sustainer of the world.
So Allah indicates very, very clearly
clear.
that everything is in order.
Yeah, is in order. He says he then sat on the seat of throne, the throne of authority. What does it mean? It means that he created and he has full control of the entire creation. Everything is ordered and follows precise laws. Yeah. Allah further tells us in chapter 36, verse 38 to 40. And the sun runs its course for a period determined for it. That is the decree of him, the exalted in might, the all-knowing. And the moon we have measured in its mentions to traverse till it returns like the old and withered lower part of a dead stalk. It's talking about the phases of the moon here. It is not permitted to the sun to catch up the moon, nor can the night outstrip the day. Each just swims along its own orbit according to law.
Amazing.
You see? It's amazing. All celestial bodies swim in precise orbits and at precise speeds. You see, it's because of this that the night and day alternate in precise regularity.
Just imagine if one of us has a doubt in this, you never see that when it's night and then suddenly it becomes in the middle of the day.
Or the time suddenly changes.
Yeah, suddenly changes.
The day
everything
suddenly
is
20
gradual.
hours, exactly. But also the seasons. You know, you don't see suddenly instead of summer you get autumn. You know, there's amazing regularities in season. It's because of this control of the orbit and the speeds and everything. Yeah. But also another interesting thing, it's because of this that our communication system can work today. You know, like the satellite systems, the GPS can work because all these planets are well regulated in their orbits and how they go around space. Yeah.
Now, Brother Hafiz, having examined the amazing revelations on the origins of the universe, its creation and its order, let us now come down to earth. Okay?
Yeah.
Because it's essential to know about earth now.
That's right.
Okay? What are the scientific facts mentioned in the Holy Quran with regard to our earth?
Well, there are many signs or scientific facts mentioned in the Holy Quran with regard to the earth. But let us look at what is most imposing to us, at least physically. Let's look at the mountains and the seas, what the Holy Quran tells about this. It is only in recent years that scientists have discovered the mountains have deep roots. They have massive roots. Yeah. In fact, only a small portion of the mountain is visible
On the surface. Although it might appear to us that the mountains are huge. Yeah, but actually it's a small
portion. A large part of the mountain is in fact under the ground. Now, this gives the mountain a shape like a peg, which is driven in the ground. You see, when you erect a tent, you put a stick or a peg. You hammer it. A large portion of it is under the ground because you want the strength on the exposed foot. You can put your rope. That is a peg. Yeah. So the mountain is like a peg. Yeah. Now, it is amazing that the Holy Quran describes mountains as pegs. In chapter 78, verse 6 to 7, Allah says, "Have we not made the earth as a bed and mountains as pegs?" Subhanallah. It's the exact description of how they are. 1400 years ago, when we didn't have the knowledge really. Now, in fact, the Holy Quran even goes further than that with regard to the mountains. It tells us that the mountains stabilize the earth crust from shaking. The earth crust from shaping. It says in chapter 16, verse 15, "And he has set firm mountains in the earth so that it would not shake with you." Now, this is confirmed in modern science, that in fact the mountains are preventing the earth crust from shaking.
Amazing.
Now, this knowledge really of plate tectonics and mountains and all that came to be known only in the 20th century.
Amazing.
It is very recent that we understood these facts. So really, this is about the mountains and the information Allah gives us about the mountains in the Holy Quran.
Mountains. Sheikh Hafiz will take a break and be right back.
Thank you very much.
Give thanks to Allah for the moon and the stars, Praise Him all day for what is and what was. Take hold of your iman, don't give in to shaitan. Oh, you who believe, please give thanks to Allah. Allahu Ghafoor, Allahu Rahim, Allahu yuhibbul muhsinin. Huwa khaliquna, huwa raziquna, وهو على كل شيء قدير. Allah is Ghafoor, Allah is Rahim, Allah is the one who loves the Muhsinin. He is our creator, He is our sustainer, and He is the one who has power over all. Give thanks to Allah for the moon and the stars. Praise Him all day for what is and what was. Take hold of your iman, don't give in to shaitan. Oh, you who believe, please give thanks to Allah. Allahu Ghafoor, Allahu Rahim, Allahu yuhibbul muhsinin. Huwa khaliquna, huwa raziquna, وهو على كل شيء قدير. Allah is Ghafoor, Allah is Rahim, Allah is the one who loves the Muhsinin. He is our creator, He is our sustainer, and He is the one who has power over all.
Welcome back, Sheikh Hafez.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Now we discussed earlier before the break regarding the mountains, that they are described in the Quran as being as pigs. Okay, now what about the sea?
Well, several revelations have been presented to us on the divine management of the seas. As you know, a big portion of the earth is water.
Is water.
Is sea. Again, it is not without control.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's take examples here. There is an unbreakable separation between waters of different qualities in the seas. Seas have different qualities from one place to another. Let's take an example. The seawater in the Mediterranean has different density, different salinity and temperature from the seawater in the Atlantic Ocean. Yet these two great bodies of water do not encroach on each other. You know, when they meet at the Strait of Gibraltar there, they don't encroach. In other words, these two bodies of water maintain their characteristics all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Now, there is a permanent barrier between the two seas.
Which is not visible to us.
Not visible. But watch this. In chapter 55, verse 19 to 20, Allah tells us, He has set the two seas meeting together. There is a barrier between them. They do not transgress. In other words, as we said, these two seas don't encroach on each other. Yeah, and they have different qualities. Yeah.
And sometimes you would find a sea and a river meeting in the midpoint, and
exactly.
amazing.
That's another amazing thing about the whole Quran. It goes further and tells us about when the sweet water of the rivers meet the salty water of the sea or of the seas. In chapter 25, verse 53, we read in the Holy Quran, "It is He who has let free the two bodies of flowing water, one drinkable and sweet, and the other salty and bitter. Yet He has made a barrier between them, a partition that is forbidden to be passed." Now, notice the difference between this verse and the previous verse, which we have mentioned. You know, the previous verse does not mention a partition. You know, it says there is a barrier in the first verse when we talked about the two bodies of water. When we talk about the sweet water and the salt water, it talks about a partition which is forbidden to pass.
Can you elaborate more, Sheikh Hafez? What is the difference between the partition and the barrier?
When you have two bodies of water, there is a mixing of these two bodies of water. Yeah, there is no a particular barrier. But when you talk about sweet and salty water, there is layers of water of different densities, which prevents any encroachment of seawater and cold water. These zones have been proven to exist at the estuaries of the rivers. Yeah, so there is actually a barrier.
A barrier.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the Quran, as I said, is telling us 1400 years ago. Remember, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was not a seafarer. He was not an ocean expert, but this information did not come from him. It came from Allah
Almighty
subhanahu wa
Allah.
ta'ala. Yeah. And there is another interesting fact about the sea, which is mentioned in the Holy Quran. You know, we talked about the qualities of the sea, but there is another interesting fact. The Holy Quran in many places use similitudes when it talks about things. Yeah, one such similitude is that of disbelievers. You know, Allah describes us, it gives us one similitude of disbelievers, those who don't believe. In chapter 24, verse 40, Allah says, "Oh, the unbeliever's state is like the depth of darkness in a vast, deep ocean, overwhelmed with below, topped by dark clouds. Depth of darkness, one above another," is talking about layers of darkness here in the sea. "If a man stretches out his hand, he can hardly see it. For any to whom Allah gives no light, there is no light." This last part of the verse is very phenomenal, very important. It says, "For any to whom Allah gives no light, there is no light." The only light is the guidance from Allah. This is the light, yeah. Any who rejects faith has no light. He is in total darkness. This means those who reject faith, their hearts are sealed and they cannot perceive any truth in front of them. They are deaf, dumb and blind. Now, the above verse depicts this scenario very vividly, using the depth of the ocean.
Of the ocean.
Now, the interesting question is this now. How did the Prophet ﷺ know that it is dark in the depths of the ocean? You see, darkness in the ocean starts at around 200 meters.
Okay.
You know, because of the reflection of the light.
Of the
As
light,
the light goes into the water, the various components of the light gets reflected back. You know, as you know, in light has got various components. You know, violet, indigo, blue, red, etc. As it goes down the oceans, it gets reflected back. When you reach around 200 meters, it's darkness there. Now, a human being cannot dive more than 50 meters without diving 8. Yeah, cannot. So really the question, how did he know that it is dark?
To the
Now,
extent that if you extend your hand,
and
you cannot see
cannot
it.
see. Yeah, and so which modern science, proves if you go down in the oceans is total darkness. So really, it's amazing the signs which are given in the Holy Quran on the sea and the management of the sea.
You know, Sheikh Hafidh, whenever I look at the ocean or the sea,
Yeah.
I'm really amazed by
Yeah.
this creation of Almighty Allah.
Indeed.
One of the things that amazes me is the salt water. Okay,
Yeah.
we humans, if we go for a swim, let's say in the sea, it's very salty. We cannot stand it.
Yeah.
But how does the creatures in the sea live normally without being irritated by the salt?
How they adapted to the
They adapted to the sea, to the salt water,
But
yeah.
also how do they get the oxygen?
And
down
how do they
there.
how do they live without? How do they drink
Yeah.
the salty water? You know,
These
is
are
always
the miracles of God. And you've got salty fish who live in the salty water, and fish who live in the sweet water.
sweet water.
And some of them cannot interchange. You cannot take a river fish and put him in the sea. It will die. You see how they're adapted to these environments. It is truly amazing indeed. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the next question, Sheikh Hafidh. The verse which you have quoted earlier, 41:53, also mentions signs on our own selves. Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, the Holy Quran contains many scientific statements on, the human body, the human reproduction and all that. Let us look at some of these. Let us first explore on what it tells us about the human reproduction process. In chapter 23, verse 12 to 14, Allah tells us, "Man we did create from an extract of clay. Then we placed him as a drop of sperm in a place of rest, firmly fixed. Then we made the sperm into an alaqa. The sperm became an alaqa. Then we made the alaqa into an mudgha. We'll come to these terms shortly.
What they mean.
What they mean. Then we made out of the mudgha bones and clothed the bones with flesh. Then we developed out of it another creature. So blessed be Allah, the best to create. This is the description of the development of the embryo.
The stages
in
of
the
development.
stages, of the development of the embryo in the womb. Remember, it was only in the 17th century, with the use of microscope, that scientists could see the shape of the sperm. Prior to that, people thought that the sperm actually was a small human being, a miniature human being.
And it grows
And then
gradually.
exactly. And then it grows in the womb. The Holy Quran mentioned 1400 years ago that it is not so. And it gives us the stages of this development. Now, let us understand these stages of the development of the embryo. Let us analyze the meanings of the words alaqa and the mudgha. Okay? The word alaqa has three meanings.
Okay.
The first meaning is a leech. The second meaning is a suspended thing.
Okay.
The third meaning is a blood clot. Now, this is the beauty of the Arabic language. You know, words often have several shades of meaning. And that's why, you know, when we read the Quran, every time we discover new meanings. You may read a verse in the Quran and think that you have understood it. But when you sit and listen to a scholar, you come up to a meaning which you never thought before.
You never thought of it before.
It's because of this Arabic language. The words often have many shades of
And the
meaning.
language itself is a miracle.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
Indeed. So the whole Quran is really oozing with knowledge. It's full of
That's
knowledge.
why it's very hard to translate the Holy Quran. You'd have a translation, but it wouldn't have the exact meaning as it
I
is
think
in the
you're
Arabic
mentioning
language.
a very important point here. When we read these verses of the Holy Quran, they are translations, but the only correct Quran is the Arabic Quran.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's because of this, you know, the vast meanings of words. And of course, scholars try their best to explain it in other languages. But the only correct Quran is the Arabic
Is the
Quran.
Arabic Quran.
So to come back now, you know, on the word alaqa, we say the first meaning is a leech. What is a leech? A leech is a worm-like creature, you know, a bit wider, which sticks to the skin of the animal and it sucks blood.
the blood.
That's a leech, yeah. The embryo under a microscope indeed looks like a leech.
Amazing.
Yes, it looks like a leech. But furthermore, the embryo gets nourishment from the womb of the mother. Yeah, so it's like a leech. It's sucking blood.
It's living on another body.
Or it's living on another body. So you can see it's a very accurate description of the embryo at this stage, alaqa stage. Yeah, very, very amazing. And if you go to the next meaning of the word alaqa, a suspended thing, the embryo at this stage is also sticking to the womb. It's hanging from the walls. It is not flying around.
Okay.
Yeah, it's suspended. So again, it fits the same meaning, alaqa. The third meaning, as it grows, it looks like a blood clot, which is the third meaning of alaqa. So if you take all these shades of meaning, it's telling you that the embryo goes through stages as it grows.
So what I understand is a word can have more than one meaning in the Quran, but it should reflect everything in that word.
Yes.
So it should mean all three.
No,
For example,
sometimes it depends upon the context. Yeah, sometimes all meanings apply.
Okay.
If you take, for example, the word sabr used in the Quran, it means patience. It means perseverance. Yeah. But these words all these meanings can apply at the same time, and in some cases it can all take only one shade of meaning.
It depends on
the context. Depends upon the context. In this context, all meanings
all three meanings three meanings apply.
Apply. Now we go to another word, which the stage in which the embryo goes. It's the mudgha stage. Mudgha means a chewed substance, something which is chewed in the mouth.
Okay.
Now, as embryo develop, it reaches a stage when it looks like something which is chewed and shows teeth marks. You know, when you chew a chewing gum, and then take it out, you can see the tooth marks.
Tooth marks on the gum.
On the gum. The embryo looks like that at the mudra stage. Amazing.
So it's an exact description.
It's exact description. Remember, as we said, the microscope was only discovered in the 17th century. Yet here we get a description of the embryo exactly as it looks. Yeah, exactly as it looks. So the fertilized female egg first becomes an alaqa, then it becomes a mudra, then the bones start to form, and then the flesh begins to grow. This is the description of human development in the womb, which was given to us many centuries before the advancement of modern equipment. You know, the ultrasound, the CT scan, the X-rays, all this came centuries later. But here we got a description, a very vivid description. It's truly amazing, really. But there is another statement here which is made about the embryo in the Holy Quran, which is also very phenomenal. In chapter 39, verse 6, Allah tells us, He makes you in the wombs of your mother in stages. You know, the stages which you've just described.
We spoke about.
One after another in 3 veils of darkness. 3 veils of darkness. Now, modern knowledge tells us that the embryo is indeed protected by 3 membranes. Now, this is really amazing. Eh? It mentions 3 veils of darkness. You know, Allah could have left it open. You know, He could have said, He makes you in the wombs of your mother in stages, one after another, in veils of darkness, without mentioning any number. Yeah. And later on, when we discover that there are 3 or 10, it will fit. But no.
He wanted to be precise.
Precise. You see, God's message is precise. As He tells us in many places, for example, Surah Al-Kahf, in the first verse, where it says, Praise be to Allah who has sent the book, which is the Holy Quran, to His slave, Muhammad, peace be upon him. There is, and we have placed in it no crookedness. Iwaja. Iwaja is crookedness or, twist and turns, ambiguity. What He's telling us in this verse, He has sent the book, but there is no ambiguity in it.
It's clear.
It's very
precise.
Clear. Precise. 3. He didn't say 2 or 4 or left it open. He said 3. This is truly amazing. Yeah, that the Holy Quran teaches us on many facts on the human body. You know, the brain, the breathing systems, you know, the skin and what's doing, you know, it's touching on these things. But I'm using the word touching deliberately here because these statements are made in passing in these verses. They are not really the primary subject matter in the verses. They are made in passing. To explain this point, let us quote verse 56, chapter 4 of the Holy Quran as an example.
Okay.
This verse reads, Those who reject our signs, we shall soon cast into the fire. As often as their skins are roasted through, we shall change them for fresh skins, so that they may test the penalty. For Allah is exalted in power, wise. Now, the primary message in this verse is that those who reject revelations will be cast into the hellfire. But changing of the skins as they get roasted is mentioned to illustrate the severity of the torment.
Okay.
The message, those who reject faith will be cast into the fire. Now, really, to emphasize what the hell is all about, hell is no joke. As the skins get roasted, they are changed. But the question, why the skin? Why not the flesh? Yeah. Modern science is telling us the skin is the sensory organ of the body. It gives us this sense of pain, sense of touch, which then sent to the brain.
So if the skin is ripped off, and then all the senses
will go. So it's renewed. So you can imagine, every time the skins go, new skin is put. You can imagine the torment. And as I said, hell is no joke. We should do all our endeavors not to be there. It's no joke. Yeah.
It's not a place that you would look forward to go.
No. But the point here, really, all these scientific statements mentioned in the Holy Quran, they are scientifically correct. although they are just made in passing. This is truly amazing.
And
Truly amazing,
so
yeah.
these science should not contradict with the modern science.
Should not contradict, yeah. And as I said, the Quran as a whole is a book of miracles, and it's the only miracle claimed by Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, despite the fact that he has performed many miracles, yeah. But this is the only miracle he claimed. And as we analyze it, we find it is true indeed. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Yeah.
You mentioned in the answer to the introductory question that the time of the Prophet was the dawn of modern science.
Yes, that's right.
At that time, the Arab Peninsula was surrounded by great empires with many scholars, like the Roman Empire, the Persian Empire, Abyssinia. Okay.
Yes.
The Prophet was, as we know, was engaged in the business of trade in caravans.
Yeah,
okay.
he used to be engaged in caravans.
In
yes,
caravans,
yes, yes.
and he might have come into contact with some scholars from these great empires. Some critics may say that the Prophet might have copied all these scientific facts. What do you think of this, Sheikh Hafid?
Well, it's a fair inquiry, but let us examine it and see its merits.
Because we have to see the story from both sides.
Exactly, exactly. You know, people could, come with such criticism. Yeah? But as I say, let's examine it. First, the Prophet, as we know, was unlettered. In other words, the Prophet could not read or write. Yeah. So it is not possible that he could have sat with these big scholars, and start writing down all these facts, which are mentioned in the glorious Quran. He was an unlettered prophet. But the main argument here is that all the scientific statements which we have mentioned, and many more which are in the Holy Quran, are statements of facts which were discovered only many centuries after the life of the Prophet.
So for the sake of argument, even if he copied from these civilizations, at that time these civilizations
could not have got this
themselves
information.
did not
exist. This information, as we have demonstrated, did not exist.
Okay.
Yeah. And any critic is welcomed to research on this, whether this information existed at that time. Who on earth had the equipment in the 7th century to know the shape of the embryo? No equipment existed at that time, yeah? Who on earth in the 7th century who had the knowledge that all these celestial bodies are of the same origin? You see, it's only now because we can analyze light which is coming from the distant stars that we can know the elements which exist. And we conclude that the universe was once one unit.
One unit.
Yeah. Who could have known in the 7th century that information? Yeah. So really this proposition that he copied material is remotely impossible. Yeah, remotely impossible.
Dear listeners, you have been listening to Science in the Quran. We thank Brother Hafid Al-Kindi from the Sultan Qaboos Center of Islamic Culture for this educational topic. Thank you so much, Sheikh Hafid.
Many thanks for this opportunity. Yeah.
We thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to join us for our last episode tomorrow, inshallah, in the holy month of Ramadan. I'm your host, Hatim Al-Absalam, signing off for today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.